Howdy, it's 4:20. Let's get high. All right. Well, everyone's talking about war. I see you went off. I'm not going to talk if you're not there. I don't know what's happening. Give me a sign. Everything has disappeared. This is so weird, man. Everything is disappearing from my electronic life. Someone's trying to send me something 5 times. I can't receive it. Really strange. So I don't know. So you're here. It doesn't say that you're here. Anyways, I've really been having I had to give up my my debit card because someone had charged me $5,000 for a fancy TV, and then there were 2 charges from Google from Vietnam. I mean, it was really weird. There you are. You're back in a number. All right. So everyone's talking about war these days. And all the guys who started this war, are trying to find someone to blame. Why the war didn't really go well. But, the only reason that wars go is because people are making money. That's the only reason for war. And, the question is, and you hear these guys, still banging the drum for war. We have to build up the military for our next war. But, there's no real enemies. I mean, there's like the individual people, like there's no country that's an enemy. Afghanistan is not our enemy. And see, here's the thing, and I wish that everybody could understand as I was thinking about this today, that, see, the earth in the Torah, the creation of man on earth, man and woman on earth, begins with the word bet, as in Bereshit. And bet is the number 2. And it's pointed out by the great mystics that this is the second world, particularly by the Arizal, who says that because this is the second world, it's a difficult world because 2 is the attribute of Gevurah, of severity. And because of that, life is difficult on earth. And it's difficult. There's this story about, a young man. He got married, they had a baby, and right after the baby, the wife dies. And the guy doesn't know what to do. And he prays to God, help me. How am I supposed to, take care of my baby? and the man grew breasts and was able to nurse his baby. And I see someone actually told me that this was that actually is an anatomical possibility that men also have mammary glands. I didn't know, but from this, the Talmud surmises that it's easier for a man to grow breasts than to find a job. It can be very difficult in this world just figuring out how to survive. And of course, you live in somewhere like America, they want to even make it harder. They want to make it so hard, they want to drive you out, And there was a time back, I don't know, 2000, probably before in the 90s, I guess, when Giuliani, he's mayor of New York, and the people were complaining about, um, all the street people. So he had a great idea. He went out and sent emissaries out there and told them, he said, how would you like to go to sunny California? And gave them all one-way tickets to sunny California, to LA, where now there's, the streets are just lined with gold, they're lined with homeless people. And so, that's making life too hard when there's nowhere to live, because these are, we're human beings, we're not animals. We're human beings, we're very sensitive. We're not meant to live out in the cold. I mean, some people, there are people who just like it. I met a dude once, and he had been homeless for a long time, and he finally got him a house. And he's telling me that sometimes he just doesn't feel comfortable, so he go out and sit in the rain. Because he got to the point where he felt very comfortable sitting in the rain. It didn't bother him at all. He wasn't cold. He wasn't, you know, he rather liked it. So people can get used to it. It's kind of thing. Either you get used to it or you die, At least you suffer. And people shouldn't have to suffer. The human being, really was not made, to suffer like an animal. That we need to have a shelter, and we need to be warm. We need to be fed. We need to have clean water, and decent food. You don't have to have the best food, but we so much food is thrown out in this country, and and the people, they're not. I don't know. I don't want to go. I mean, the whole thing is really. Not cool, because they're taking what's hard and they're making it so much harder. And what are we supposed to do down here with the hard? So there's a term in Torah that you're supposed to sweeten the Gevurah, sweeten the severity. And like, you can't sweeten the severity by bringing more severity. And I don't know if there's anything more severe than war. That is more severe than anything God created. I mean, God, is um, uh, what's the word I want? Sort of, I don't know. That nature doesn't just nature doesn't just happen. God's running the show. I mean, there are certain things in nature that just happen. I mean, it's sort of cause and effect. If you pollute the planet, then the planet, is going to take revenge. There'll be storms and fires, and because this is the way God created, so that we can, it's sort of like the person. So that we can, it's sort of like the person. This kind of like this oxycontin thing, that there's they want to stop people's pain, so they make oxycontin and they push it really hard, and they make a huge amount of money, and a lot of people, millions of people, overdose or get sick, and now they're trying to get themselves off, or none of them can be prosecuted for doing this, And it's basically a bribe. They're paying like $5 billion or something like that, and they're still keeping a huge fortune. And it's just a bribe. It's a bribe to the government. And because everyone knows that all these different counties around America who've suffered from this, that they're desperate for this money so that they can get some sort of treatment for people. And the government's not going to do it, so let them do it, which would be fine and responsible. um if that's what we do, we did, but it's not what we do. Instead what we do is, oh man, I got this itch on my eye. I don't know what it is, my eyelid. No matter what we do, I mean, they'll just, it's just a bribe. It's just a bribe to the government. Here, take the money, do what you need to do, leave us alone. See, and the money is the government. I mean, they are just so. I mean, we complain that Afghanistan was corrupt. America is corrupt. I mean, it's just terribly corrupt, and that people can get away with this stuff. And the wars, and there's stupid reasoning for wars. I mean, the only really advancement that's happened over the years is that there's been much more transparency, really because of technology, because everyone has cameras now, and people are really afraid to say what they have to say because someone's going to hear them, someone's going to record them. And it kind of forces them into a corner, but they learn how to adapt. They're sort of like viruses, that's how they live, is they adapt. It's like COVID, it keeps changing and adapting. So but it's all about money to everyone. And the whole, it just drives me nuts, man. The whole war on drugs. It was all about, like keeping heroin off the streets. And because of that, and they spent who knows billions of dollars, paying, the different apparatus to keep all this, their war on drugs. So in the meantime, they can get OxyContin into the system of society. But the truth is, that God created the world and different countries with different resources. And some, like in the Middle East, they have oil, or Venezuela has oil, or Texas has oil, or Oklahoma. There's certain places that, these deposits are. And people who live there, can be rich from them, but it's like that in all sorts of things. It used to be that people would deal in spices, and they had a certain spice in this area, and they could take it to another area, and they could trade spices. And these were merchants, and they became wealthy from making these trips. They always took something off the top, and that's how they became wealthy. And we all understand that's how it works. And but some places in the world have things that there's just nowhere else, and opium is one of them. And this is the country where opium grows, and opium takes away pain, and that's considered a good thing. In the Torah, when the rabbis, who are the legalists, when they have to figure out that, let's say, someone hit someone else with their hand or with their car, or whatever, they hit someone else. So there's different things how they adjudicate what exactly what would be justice. For example, if you hit someone, now the person's embarrassed. And like if a person had to be like was going to be embarrassed, you didn't have your pants on or something. And in high school, I was a kid. That was a big thing of pantsing kids because you're going through puberty. It was just torture, and you'd have to be embarrassed. And if you could say to someone, "Hey, me, I'll pay you $20. Don't embarrass me," and the guy would do it. So the rabbis would say, "Well, if that's how much it costs to get yourself out of embarrassment, so you owe him $20 because you embarrassed him." And then you have pain. How do you pay someone for pain? Well, the degree of pain, what would you need in order to be able to deal with that degree of pain? I mean, you have some alcohol, or maybe you just need something strong. Maybe you need some opium. I've had times, accidents and stuff. I go to the hospital, I was in so much pain. And the doctor would say, "Oh, can I help you from your discomfort?" "Yes, yes, please help me from my discomfort." And they put a needle in your arm, and 2 minutes later, you're on cloud seven. And certainly, this stuff can be addictive because you just don't feel nothing, man. You're in pain, but you don't feel a thing. And so, these things should be not so much, they don't have to be governed by the government, but, people need to learn about things and, learn what are the good uses and the bad uses. And generally, people who want to use them in a bad way have deeper problems, which certainly, should be attended to. And so the whole thing, society, there's no question, society is just fucked up big time. And now we've lost our big war that started, under Bush, that no one ever really found out how these things ever could have happened. So the whole thing just boggles the mind, and everyone start wondering, maybe we missed something here. Maybe we should go back. And now that we have more facts and stuff, and after we spent 20 years, destroying the Middle East and Afghanistan and threatening Iran and North Korea, and just, I don't know who we think we are. Just because we're a country made of people from everywhere in the world doesn't mean we can go everywhere in the world and threaten everyone. And it's just wrong. And now that there is the pandemic and there's the end of the war, and and the only thing for these people to fight about anymore is their freedom to die, and make everyone else die. So it's it's a very dark time because the enemy is completely beyond logic. They're beyond logic, beyond justification, so they're just yelling and screaming. And that's why my latest book, Zohar, Beyond the Black Hole, is a very important book, because into the darkness comes this bit of light. And true light is essence. And essence of what, you may ask? The essence of creation. And what is the essence of creation? We call it Or Ein Sof, light without end. And whatever exists, the smallest, tiniest atom in existence, these things that are so small, they just, they go through the earth like, it's outer space. They're so tiny, I forget what they're called. Everything in existence is chipped from the Or Ein Sof. And that's, basically the atom. And scientists wonder, like, how is it that every atom everywhere in the universe we look are the same? Because they all came from the same place. They think that like energy made atoms, and they don't understand why the basic atom, the nucleus, is the same. There's no different kinds of nucleus. It's just one kind of nucleus. It's all as if they all came from the same place, which is what happened. They were chipped from the Or Ein Sof. This is what the Zohar describes in great detail of what went on beyond the black hole and how that came to be of the fulcrum of the black hole that then spit out the stars, which are then also they're engraved on the lips of the black hole, the name Elohim, which is the same gematria as Hateva, the nature. And so that's why everything in creation goes according to these laws of nature, because everything comes from that. We have no choice but to breathe. We can't stop breathing. It's our nature to breathe. Our mind, our intentions can do a lot of things, but it can't stop us from breathing, because that's the nature of the human being. And everything has its nature. Every atom has its nature because it's chipped off of the, from the Or Ein Sof, from this light without end, meaning that not that the light goes out endlessly, that would mean space without end, but rather that there aren't any loose ends, just hanging out there that don't have anywhere to go. Everything is connected because this is the radiance of God, and God is perfect, so the light is perfect. And the way creation came into being is through God's wanting to be known in lo, which is us. And it's that wanting that was engraved into the Or Ein Sof, which made like all of a sudden everything is moving. And it made a spiral, like water going down a drain. And that what finally became the black hole, with all the intention of God. And see, my book like really goes into this, and it translates like the Zohar, the first 13 paragraphs of the Zohar, which are set off really from the rest of the Zohar, because it really describes in very intricate description of how the black hole came to be, how the universe came to be, how our earth came to be. And it's in such a beautiful way. And it's such a beautiful, profound, and also a positive message about being alive and being part of this process as this very crucial time in human history, when sort of in these years, really between 1906 and 2017, there are 111 years is between the 666, 5,666, and 5,777. And that like came into culmination in the 777, which is the sign of the angel of death, of ending, just like the seventh day of the week is the Shabbat, the day of rest, because it ends the week. Work is over. That's why you're not, Jewish person is not allowed to work on the Shabbat, because work is over. And God gave us the Shabbat that we should do that every seventh day we should say, that's it, work's over. Of course, there's many ways to understand what your work is. I mean, I feel I'm a writer, And so come, Friday night, I put away my computer, turn off my phones, no writing. And the other part of Shabbat is you're supposed to have pleasure. And all of this has to do with the angel of death. Because when we die, that's what happens. Our work on this world is over. And that is a pain to the soul when we see what life is about and what we could have done, what we should have done, and now we can't do it. Nonetheless, and it's hard to stop. If you're working, saying you really love it, and you gotta stop. And I was once with these folks for a few weeks, and I think it's in Arizona somewhere. And so I thought about this. Oh, let's do this Shabbat. We did this Shabbat. Everyone had such a great time. And then next week it's time for Shabbat. No, we did it last week. You gotta do it every week. Now people don't want to do that. You don't party when you want to party, but we have to do this. It is a Jewish commandment, one of the 613 commandments, that we should keep the Shabbat. We should not work, and we should enjoy life. Of course, the Orthodox, they understand work as being the 39 types of labor it took to build the Mishkan while we were in the desert, and they extrapolate those into modern day life and say you can't do anything. You can only study Torah. The meals have to be all prepared beforehand, and they make the Shabbat difficult. But, it is an extreme way to keep the Shabbat. And every people, when they gather together like that, particularly over some sort of spiritual idea, like the Muslims, the Taliban, they were very, extreme part of Islam. And all right, we all have our extreme parts of who we are as people. The Jewish people, we have these extreme people. And the thing is, the extreme is the idea of gevura, of contraction, of severity. And our job is not to invade them and not to, God forbid, try to hurt anyone, but to try to sweeten the severity. And there's ways of doing that. And if we had left Afghanistan alone and not have spent $2 trillion destroying what one person described as bombing rubble into rubble. And if we hadn't done that, and if we had left them alone with all their cruelty and all their restrictions, they would have gotten sweetened. Because it's just the human nature. And we see even in North Korea, a very harsh place, that even North Korea has become sweeter. They have a society, and though most people can't participate in it, but watching it over the years, it has become sweeter. And if we leave things alone, that's what happens to them. I remember my grandmother, when I didn't want to eat the banana because it had a dark thing on it, she would say, well, she would say, that's the sweet part. And that's what happens. Generally, you leave it alone, it becomes sweeter. It doesn't get more severe. Shalom, shalom. Thank you for joining us. Please feel free to ask questions. That's why I'm here. That was kind of the end of my time. But I did trying to do this every day between 4:20, starting at 4:20 for a half an hour. And I'm happy to take people's questions and really encourage you to buy my book, Zohar Beyond the Black Hole, that it's really something just revolutionary. So, and that you can get that at my website, dovidhouse.com, and other things also. Very nice. Get my Kabbalah, get my Zohar book. It's really something beautiful. I have another one coming out also called Sex, a Metaphor to History. I actually have published it before. Oh, can I sign it? You know, I haven't even gotten the copy yet. But if you get it, I'll sign it. I don't know where you are, but we could figure it out. Sure, I'd sign it. And anyways, so I'll see you, God willing, tomorrow, 4:20. Get high, stay high, be high. It pushes away the negativity. Bye.